Spray Mod Podge? I wonder if it really lives up to all its claims. We shall see. Good morning, everybody. It's Stephen here for Bland Designs, and welcome to my weekly vlog number 152 for Monday, January the 27th, 2020. And so, as you saw in my little teaser, I've got a new product that I'm going to try out. I'm going to talk more about that a little further on in the vlog. But right now, I'm going to show you what I've just finished, and it's this quilt. And this is a quilt that I've made for a friend of mine. I had a friend ask me to make him a quilt back in the summertime. He said that he'd commission me for this, and I said, no, you aren't. You're a friend. I will make it for you. And he wanted something for his couch, a throw. So this is a good size throw, as you can see. And it's all made with Tim Holtz fabrics from his eclectic line. I've had a kit with all these fabrics in it and the pattern for over a year, possibly a year and a half. And so my friend is very much into antiques and into Victorian pieces. So I thought this would suit him well. I did describe to him the fabrics I was going to use, and he seemed to be for that. So that's what I've done. Now, I did quilt this on my embroidery machine, and it's all done. And I did piece the back as well, and I don't know how much of it I'll be able to show you. But here you can see I had some of the fabric left over, so I did sort of a square in the center of this and then used some other background fabrics that I felt that went with all of that to complete the back. It's a heavy quilt. For some reason, I think it's because I did a fairly dense design in the quilting, and it's all done. So now I just have to get it to him at some point in time. That may take another couple of months because we don't see these friends of ours all that often. So that's done, and that's one off my UFO list as well. Unfinished projects. Unfinished objects, I guess that's what it stands for. So I've got that done. And let's move right into the YouTube channel of the week. This is for those of you that like to do it-yourself home decor and on a budget. So watch this. This week's YouTube channel is one for people who like to do their own home decor and crafting on a budget. It's called the Cottage Co, and I find it very inspiring and very creative. And the items that this lady creates can all be done with a lot of the materials you may already have laying around in your house or from the dollar store. They tend to be very elegant, although simple, and simple isn't bad. And I just find her very interesting to watch, the way that she decorates her home improvements, and her general crafting style. So if you want something that's inspiring and a little different, check out the Cottage Co. So the links for that YouTube channel are listed below, as are the links for this week's Stephen and Walter Live. If you didn't catch us live on Sunday, we talked about Canada's relationship to the monarchy, because there's been a lot of talk lately about Prince Harry and Meghan coming to live here in Canada. So we discuss that because there's a lot of people, especially Americans, who really don't understand our relationship to royalty in Britain. Just one of those things that sets Canada apart from the rest of North America because of that relationship. So we talked about that, and I do have the link to the product I'm going to be reviewing later on, and to the book of the week. So that takes us to what's pissing me off this week. Well, this is one where I'm a little pissed off with myself. A few months ago, if you remember, I basically got kicked off of Facebook. Well, I didn't really get kicked off. Someone stole my identity, as far as I could tell. They didn't do anything to me, and I still don't understand what really happened there. And I don't know if there was a problem with Facebook's algorithms or what it was, but I couldn't get back on. No matter what I tried to do, I couldn't get back on. I couldn't use my name. I tried different passwords, I tried different email addresses, and it just was not letting me on. And in fact, I did get back on briefly for about a day, and then the same thing happened again. So I decided at that point in time I was done with Facebook. I mean, it's a waste of time anyways, really. I don't need to see what people are eating for dinner all the time. I don't need to necessarily know about their fabulous vacations, and I don't need to see all the advertising. And I did a rant about that way back. Well, guess what? I'm back on Facebook. Okay, I should be pissed off with myself because it almost seems hypocritical. After all the things I said against being back on Facebook, I'm back on. Did I miss Facebook? Yes and no. The one thing I missed about Facebook was there were a couple of groups I belonged to, and that was the only way I could stay in contact with these groups was through Facebook, because they didn't have a website where you could get the same content. So I did miss those. I did miss being able to reach out to some of my friends who were on Facebook as well to send them a message, although in most cases I had their email address. But people today don't check their email as often as they seem to check their Facebook messages. So there was a time delay in all of that. Anyways, I got back on it by accident. There was some site that said that I was looking at, it had to do with crafting or quilting, something like that, and you could join up using Facebook. Well, I knew I didn't have Facebook, and I thought, well, this is, might as well forget about this idea. But I hit the button and tried it, and lo and behold, Facebook took me to the Create a Facebook Account page. Well, I'd been there before when I was trying to solve the problem initially, so I went ahead, I filled out all the information, and lo and behold, it let me on. So I was able to reestablish my Facebook page, reconnect with the groups I belong to. I've sent out friend requests to people, which must be getting tired of that because I think I did that about 3 times when I was first booted out of Facebook. And knock wood, everything seems to be working the way it's supposed to work. So I'm back on Facebook. And now I remember what I didn't miss about Facebook. Getting notifications on my phone all the time when somebody writes a message or whatever. And I can turn that off, that feature, so it doesn't bother me, and I think I'm going to have to. But there's a little piece of me in there that's curious. When that goes off, I've got to look. And that's just how technology takes over our lives. We've become slaves to the computer and all forms of the computer, our pads, our telephones, all that kind of stuff. And that's what pisses me off, that I was so gullible again that I'm back on Facebook. I would rather see Facebook die, but having said that, I'm on it. So I guess I'm supporting it and I'm helping to keep it alive. So basically that's what I'm pissed off about, is that I'm addicted. Well, I'm not addicted, but Facebook has this much of a pull on me that I'm back on. For better or for worse, we'll see. So that's what this week's all about. So I'm on Facebook if you want to find me. There's a lot of people with my name on Facebook. Same first and last name spelt the same way. I'm not that unique, I guess. So be it. Okay, so let's talk, since I already showed you a YouTube channel of the week about DIY home decor, let's take a look at what my DIY suggestion is for this week. This week's home decor idea is a blast from the past. If you're trying to give your decor that turn-of-the-century look, why not pick up a couple of these old lady figurines? Yes, old lady figurines doing sewing, looking traditional, look like your grandmother. Bring a little bit of nostalgia into your home with these tacky little dust collectors. Some people think they'll be worth money someday. Well, maybe they are. It's an investment. So, decorate your home with old pieces of pottery. Okay, so that's just my lame attempt at humor. You can let me know whether you think this has any merit in terms of being just a little funny, or if you think it's just stupid and stop it. I won't take offense, okay? I'm just doing it for fun, that's all. Okay, so let's get into the product review this week. So I was watching lots of things, as I told you last week, from Creativation. And I have a list of a few things that I'd like to explore further. But one of those things was not an absolutely new product, just being presented for the first time at Creativation, but is a product that's been out for probably over a year now. And that is Mod Podge Ultra. It's spray Mod Podge by Plaid. I have been interested in this product. I had sort of forgot about it until I saw the Creativation videos about this stuff. And they claim that it'll work with your 3D embellishments. It holds them down well, all that kind of stuff. So I went looking for it. I went to Michael's, of course, and no, they had every kind of Mod Podge but this. So I thought, okay, so be it. Maybe they'll get it in again another day or whatever. So I was over at Walmart, and guess what? Walmart had it. It's not a cheap product. It's $20 for a bottle of this Mod Podge. So I got some anyways because I wanted to try it, and I'm going to show you my results of trying it. So I grabbed some odds and ends 3D embellishments and a piece of chipboard, and I sprayed this chipboard with this Ultra Mod Podge and dropped these onto the board. I wasn't trying to create a piece of art here, I was just testing this. And then I sprayed over top of it again with the Ultra Mod Podge. I actually took my heat gun to it just to see if I could dry faster with the heat gun, and it does. But then I left it and let it sit. Now on the bottle they say for the best adhesion you should let it dry overnight or for 24 hours. So I did. These suckers are not coming off. I'm actually giving it a fair amount of force right here. I mean, if I really pried on them, I probably could tear them off. But, oops. See, I dropped it and didn't fall off. I'm impressed. I am very impressed. Now, I thought, well, what's going to happen when I just spray it on standard cardstock or something like that? Because that was chipboard. Here's what happens. Your paper warps. This is a piece of white cardstock, curled it right up. This is a piece of colored cardstock, did the same. And this is a piece of scrapbook paper, and it did the same. Now, I can flatten these out, all right? But this is how they dried. So I don't recommend necessarily unless you're prepared to straighten these out. And my method of straightening these out would be to send them through my hot laminator. I do that with a lot of things actually. It works like a little pressing machine. You could hit it with an iron, or you just put it under a book, I guess, overnight, and that'll straighten them out. But you probably wouldn't just be spraying cardstock with this stuff. I see this being used in a mixed media journal, in an art journal, that kind of thing. I see it as being used as a spray sealer for something that's already mounted on either a piece of chipboard or cardboard or very heavy cardstock or something like that. But overall, I am impressed. Now, someone told me, a person that I know, that she had got some of this and tried it and hated it. She said it didn't work for her at all. I'm finding that for what I've tried it on anyways, it does seem to work. Drying time is a problem. As I said, you can hit it with a heat gun. But really for best results, I think you do need to let it air dry overnight. So, you know, I see using this not so much as something to glue things down as much as to seal things. Like, I'm wondering how this would work on something like a Tim Holtz. You know, you did a background using Distress ink and they're water soluble. And I'm wondering how well this would work on that to seal it so you can put wet products on top of it. I already use a fixative, a spray fixative for that kind of thing, but there's pretty fumey. This isn't fumey. So I'm gonna give that a try at some point in time and see how that works. So overall, it's a little pricey at $20 for a bottle of this. You might be able to get it other places cheaper, and I'm talking Canadian dollars. But I think it's pretty good. I think it does deliver what it says it's going to deliver. So far, so good. Okay, so that's all about that product. Let's move on to the book of the week. Now, I showed you, I've shown you a couple of the books by this author. Her name is Angie Pedersen, and she's the lady who does the Book of Me, which is scrapbooking all about yourself, sort of autobiographical. She's done one on relationships, and this is another book in the series called Growing Up Me. And this is really looking at children, or looking at your own childhood, or looking at your children's lives as well. Again, filled with lots of pictures for layouts, lots of prompts and things and suggestions as to what you can look at. So again, this book and the other two in her series are great books when you're having a block. You want to do something a little different in your scrapbooking. These kind of books might help you out. Now, I've had this for quite a long time, as I've said with the other books, and it cost me, back when I did buy it, $24.99 Canadian. Can you still get it? Yes, you can. You can get it on Amazon.ca for $21.57. So the price has not really dropped much, plus there's probably shipping on that. But I did find that you can get it for as low as $6 as a used book. So you've heard me say this many times before. Never underestimate the section on Amazon called used books, because most of the time those books, you can get them for a really good price, and the books are in pristine condition as well. Again, I don't know how much the shipping would be on that. So if you're interested, I have the link below. Okay, so that takes us to works in process. And this is the second part of the iCraft album scrapbook, and this time I'm putting the background papers onto it. Okay, so now I'm going to do the initial embellishing, which means putting the background papers onto the album. Now, what I did beforehand off camera was I figured out the measurements for each panel that I need to cover, and I designed them in my Cricut and had my Cricut cut them out, and then I just rounded the corners with a standard corner rounder. And there are a lot of pieces here, so what I did was on each section of the album itself, I just marked a number, so 6, 7, etc. And on the back of each of these cut pieces, I also put a number, so I know which piece goes in which section. I just thought that might make life a little easier. The other thing that I decided was to pull off the magnets I had put on this in the last segment. The magnets were a little on the fat side, and I just felt that I want to cover them up, and to do so there would have been a bulge in the background paper. So I've taken them off and I've gone to a ribbon instead, which I glued to the back and then covered with one of the background panels to give it extra support, and that will act as my closure for this box. And I picked a green ribbon that sort of goes with the paper that I'm using. And the paper that I'm using, let me grab the paper pack, is one that I've had in my stash for a very long time, called the Timeless Type Stack, and it is by DCWV. And there's 48 sheets in the pack, and some of these have a glossy finish to them as well. So this is the pack that I used, and you know how I like to use paper packs for something like this, because it takes all the guesswork out of coordinating your colors and things like that. They all fit together no matter which ones you use. So what I did before I started gluing these down was I went around the edges of each piece with some brown ink. I think I used palette ink for this, and just to cover up, because this is not two-sided paper, it has a white side, so it has a white edge, just to cover up that white edge and give it a little bit more dimension. So for adhering these, and I'll just show you, here's page 6 and 7, so I need to find the corresponding pieces for this. So let's see, 6 and 7 are in here somewhere. There's 6 and there's 7. So let's start with 7, and it goes into this section in here. Now you want to make sure that you don't get it across your score lines, because then it will not fold properly. And of course I did cut each one of these pieces about a 1/4 inch smaller than the actual panel itself, because I wanted to have a little bit of a black border show up around each piece. Now for adhering this, I usually use double-sided tape, but today I'm using my tape runner because I think that will be enough to hold everything secure. You could use wet glue, you could use double-sided tape. And now I'm just eyeballing it here to get it in the center of that panel, and away we go. And this is panel 6. And you can see on panel 6 right here, this is where I pulled the magnet off, but I'm not worried about that little damaged part because this piece is going to cover that up quite nicely. Well, almost. But I can show you a little trick here, at least on black. So I'm going to go, I've got a little bit of this showing through the tear, so all I'm going to do is take my black Sharpie and just fill that in. Oops, got a little on there, but that doesn't matter. So that will hide that mark completely. Okay, so this is the procedure I'm going to do throughout this album. I'm going to put down all my background papers and I'll be back to show you the final result. Okay, so I've got all my background papers adhered to the base, and I'm just going to show you what it looks like at this stage. Of course, at this point, we haven't done the final embellishing. This is just putting in the background papers. So you can see my bow will hold this together quite nicely. So we'll just undo that. And then you can see, as you open it up, each of the pages are decorated. I'll put it this way so I can get the whole thing in the shot. And then each one of these sections has their background papers installed. So now I'm thinking that maybe I will put a decorative edge along here. I've got some die cuts that would do that. I'll have to get them out and see. And that I will save for the final embellishing stage of this project. I'm not going to do that right now because that I consider to be final embellishing. So it just all puts together. Now, right now, it's not being very square, but when you get things in this, and I haven't decided yet what I'm going to do as far as inserts are concerned. It is supposed to be a album scrapbook. Didn't tie that very well, did I? But you get the point. So I may put some pictures in it. I may not. I may just put in some cards that people could mount pictures to and journaling to as well. And then of course we have to decorate the outside. So that's the second part of this tutorial on how to put together the iCraft album scrapbook. And in our next part we'll look at final embellishing. So next week we'll continue and finish up that series on the iCraft album scrapbook. I'll do my final embellishing of that book. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it yet because it's another one of those projects from iCraft that really don't lend themselves to a lot of 3D embellishments. So I'll see what I can come up with for that. Okay, so events in the past week. Update on my mom. She's fine, except that last night I got a call from the nursing home. My mother had fallen again. Now you have to remember my mother is in a wheelchair full time. She cannot walk. So how she fell, I'm not sure, and basically the nurse said she just slowly slipped out of her chair. She didn't hurt herself, she's fine, but of course they have to let me know about these things. I haven't talked to her since this, going over this week, of course, to see her as we usually do. So I'll ask her at that point. I'll bet you she was reaching for something, and I've told her not to do that, and I will tell her again, but it goes in one ear and right out the next. One of these days, what I'm afraid of is I'll get a call and she has hurt herself this time when she's fallen and broken something, because my mother's very frail. You can spit through her. She's so skinny, and she does have osteoporosis. So, there you go. I know it's probably, I don't want it to, but I'll bet you it's going to happen at some point in time. And then we've got a whole new hell to live through. So anyways, that's the latest on my mother. I had bloodletting this week. Just got back now from the doctors. We go every 3 months. My doctor's very thorough. There's nothing wrong with me, but she likes to check you up. And of course, this time I had to do the standard blood work. Well, I did that the middle of last week. The blood letters, as I call them, they took out a couple of vials of blood from me because I had to have a PSA test, and that's for your prostate. For those of us that are of the male persuasion, of course. And yes, they do digital exams, but they have this other test, and in the greatest wisdom of our Ontario government, they don't cover the cost of this test. It costs you $33 that you have to pay for it. But anyways, I suppose it's a small price to pay for reassurance like that I don't have prostate cancer. So anyways, and that gets me all uptight because now I'm thinking when I go to her office, I'll get the results, and what is she going to find? Well, I got the results and they're fine. Nothing to worry about. She's still a little bit iffy about my blood pressure, about my pulse rate especially. I do have a very fast pulse rate. I've always have. She was happy about the fact that I am trying to lose weight and watching what I'm eating and everything like that. So it was good. And she says I don't need to see her again for another 3 months. Walter goes at the same time as well. But she did say I didn't need to have blood work done for another 6 months. So, okay, that's fine as well. So I guess I'm fine. I mean, I feel fine. I got a little stuffed up ear, but I get that every now and then. My eustachian tube blocks up, and I just take Claritin. After, probably a couple of weeks, it will ease out. I didn't even mention that to her because I've talked to doctors about this before, and they basically tell me the same thing. Take Claritin extra strength. So there it is. I mean, if I still have this when I go to see her in 3 months' time, then I'll be definitely saying something to her. But this is pretty normal for me. I usually get this at least once a year. So no big deal there. So I got a relatively clean bill of health, I guess, and that's a good thing. So what's coming up? Well, this isn't coming up. Today is also a special day. It is Walter's 62nd birthday. So we are going out to celebrate. Not tonight. We're going out later in the week to the keg. And I got him a couple of books on bag making because, he's all into that right now. And when else do you get somebody that has everything? We're impossible to buy for. So I pulled the same stunt with him that he pulled with me on my birthday last year. And he gave me cash to buy fabric. So I gave him cash to buy bag making supplies and things like that. So, at least he can go out and get something for himself rather than me trying to get him something and then finding out, that, he doesn't really want that. So, I always thought giving money as a birthday present was, was, what do you call it? Didn't show a lot of thought, but, well, never say never. Okay, so tomorrow I have 2 sewing classes. They both start, one's in the morning, one's in the afternoon. I've got everything prepped and ready to go for that, and I'm looking forward to it because I enjoy taking the classes. Because I enjoy the socialism, wrong word. I enjoy the social bit of the classes as well, and I always learn something from them too. So that starts tomorrow, and that's for several weeks. So I'm going to have a lot of homework in those 2 classes. It may be difficult to keep up. But hey, the world won't end if I fall a little bit behind. Okay, so that takes us to just one last thing I'd like to talk about very briefly. Now, for those of you that do not live in Ontario, Canada, this won't mean much to you. But if you have a teacher in your family, no matter where you are in the world, you know what the job entails. I'm sure you do. And of course, right now, our teachers at all levels of education, at the secondary, at the primary, with the Catholic School Board, the Public School Board, and the French School Board, are all in legal strike positions right now and are doing one-day rotating strikes. This government of ours will not give in. They want to raise class sizes, which would save them money because they get rid of teachers by doing that. They want to eliminate all-day kindergarten. They want to get rid of or cut back on support workers. There's a lot of kids in school systems that have special needs that need the extra support. And this government just doesn't get that. So they're trying to offer all these cuts. Of course, this government is trying to turn around and say the only reason the teachers will not bargain with them is because the government has put a cap of 1% as an increase in salaries. And they're trying to make the public think that teachers want a lot more than that, and that this whole strike business in the situation that they're in is all because teachers want more money. That is not what it's about. It's about keeping quality education. And this government has no idea. The Minister of Education went to private school. He doesn't have any children. The assistant to him is 22 years old, went to private school, is a fundamentalist Christian. Not that that necessarily has anything to do with anything, but it's just all part of the parcel. So neither one have any background in negotiating contracts with teachers. They have no background. They don't understand how the education system works. They have no clue. They don't even have a clue from their own personal lives because they never went and had a public education. Oh yeah, the young guy that I just mentioned, he didn't go to private school. He was homeschooled. Don't get me on homeschooling. That might be a whole topic for a Stephen and Walter Live, because I'll tell you right up front, and I make no apologies for it, I am absolutely against homeschooling. Absolutely. And nothing you can say will ever convince me that homeschooling is better than a public education. At least not in our country, in our province. So, I support my teachers. Of course I do. I have been through this myself during my career, so I know what they're going through, and they have my full support, and I felt that since I have this platform, that I should state what the situation is. So it all boils down to, yes, it boils down to money, but not because teachers want a raise. It's because the government wants to save money by increasing class sizes and getting rid of teachers. And if you increase a class size, that means children do not get individual attention. Less of it. You can't stick 40 kids in a room. Physically, the classrooms in modern schools today cannot accommodate 40 kids. There are kids sitting on the floor in classrooms because there's not enough desks available. That's not right. He's trying to get rid of support staff, people who are trained in special needs for kids with special needs. Those kids need that. The classroom teacher, most classroom teachers do not have that detailed of educational background, at least at high school level, to be able to give full service to special need kids. And even if they did, they still can't do that, because if you've got 40 kids in your classroom in a 70-minute period, how much of your time are you going to be able to spend with a special needs student? So what's going to happen to special needs students? They're going to fall behind. They're going to get frustrated. They're going to drop out of school. So, this is not good at all. You can't remove full-day kindergarten. I mean, for years we did not have full-day kindergarten. But now that we have it, you're saying to parents who, yeah, let's face it, parents are using full-day kindergarten, not because necessarily they really care about the quality of the education their child is getting at that level, but it's daycare, free daycare for them. If their little one is in school all day while they're at work, then they don't have to pay the exorbitant prices that they have to pay for childcare. So, and now they've also implemented new programs into full-day kindergarten, whereas they couldn't do these things when it was half-day, and they have a support worker, an EEC teacher, early childhood educator, in those classrooms as well, helping out the teacher, which means those kids with special needs are getting it from day one, getting what they need from day one when they start their teaching or their educational journey, which can only benefit them through the rest of the years of their education. So this government is trying to derail the education system, and we do have a very good education system in Ontario. and he's trying to derail it by doing all this kind of stuff. He's an idiot. And I'm talking about Doug Ford, and he's an idiot. And the guy who's the Minister of Education, I call him Lech. I think it's Lech or something like that. But he's an idiot. And the little assistant, he's also an idiot. So we have all these idiots that are making decisions for people's children in the education. And they have no background in it whatsoever. Shouldn't be doing it. So anyways, I'll probably keep you up to date on what's going on with the teachers, because it's not going to get any better right now. It's going to get worse. The teachers are digging in, and my prediction is that in a little while, if the government doesn't go back to the table, and the government is not going back to the table, they are standing firm that they are not going to back down on anything. That's not negotiation. That's tyranny. So I think there's going to be a general strike, and where all the teachers at all the levels will be out on the picket lines. And that's going to cause a lot of problems for parents, for the kids, for the teachers, and hopefully a big problem for the government that will bring them back to the table so they can do some fair negotiation with the teachers. Teachers are not stupid, and the teachers' unions are fairly powerful in this province. In fact, they're probably the most powerful of all the unions in the province. And if Doug Ford thinks he's going to take those teachers down easily, he's got another thought coming. Okay, so that's enough about politics for this week, and it's enough for me from this week. So I hope you can join us for Stephen and Walter Live this coming Sunday, which we will be on 1 hour later, 5 p.m. instead of 4 p.m. because I'm teaching an art journaling class that day and I won't get home until 4. So 1 hour later, and we don't have a topic for next week, but I'm thinking right now that we might start talking a little bit more about the whole teacher thing, but not so much with the bend towards the strike and the negotiations and all of that, but maybe a little bit more to, what qualifies somebody to be a Minister of Education, and the whole issue that I have with the idea of homeschooling. And I'm sure there'll be a few people out there who probably have some very strong opinions about the education system and about homeschooling and all of this kind of stuff. So it could be a very lively conversation. At least I hope so. So that's a possibility. Not saying I'm going to do that for sure, but it's an idea. Okay, I hope you have a great week, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye for now.